You ever try to do something creative and someone comes along and laughs or, ridicules you or just says, hey, that's no good? Or maybe almost as bad, someone who means well says, oh, sweetheart, you can't be a dancer. You can't be a writer. You'll starve. You'll end up under the underpass. What are you thinking? And so we go through life with these ideas in our head. I mean, even me, I've been writing for 38 years and I have to overcome this all the time. It's like the idea that what I have to express has value. Maybe it's just value for me. Maybe it's value for my wife or for our friends. Maybe it's something I want to publish, have value for a lot of people. But what I want to talk about today, I'm not speaking to people who want to be professional writers. My friends have been good to me. I want to give something back to my friends. I'm talking to my friends who work a full-time job, who come home, have a couple of kids maybe, have a mortgage, a note on their car, a leaky roof, a headache, who knows what. And through all of that, there's something niggling in the back of your brain. You've always wanted to write a book. Maybe your life story, or maybe a relative who had this incredible life and you want to, put that down, some record of that. Or a friend of mine who keeps family stories just to pass family history down. But we have this idea that, oh, well, gee, I couldn't do that. I don't know how to write. I don't know grammar. I don't know how to turn a phrase. I mean, have you ever come home from work bitching about a guy at work and your poor spouse has to sit there and listen, or somebody cut you off on the road and you rant? Well, if you can do that, you can write. The problem that I see most people have, that even sometimes I have, is, we get this idea of what we think writing is, and we sit down at the keyboard and, oh, I'm a writer now and I've got to be all formal about it and write and be literary. And it's like this huge disconnect because we can't get our emotions and our passion, a real human experience, down into this idea of what it means to be a writer or to be Ernest Hemingway and go off on a safari, or John Steinbeck, or, you got to get rid of all that. Get a tape recorder, talk into it, and then write what you say. You have value if you've lived through childhood. You have value if you made it through puberty. You have value if you had a kid. If you've been married, you are qualified to write about these things. And so, let's say you do believe that, because you got to believe that over the long haul. It's hard to do. So the next thing you have to do is find a place and a time and try to do it every day. I mean, it's hard. This is the hardest part. Maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour at least. If it means you have to get up at the butt crack of dawn before the kids are up, or the spouse is up, if it means you got to go down to the basement or up to the attic or out to Starbucks or wherever, you got to figure that out. Joseph Campbell, the mythologist and teacher, calls it a place of creative incubation. And I believe it when he says if you go there every day, something will happen, And I believe in creative trust and creative faith. I don't go to church as much as I probably should, but I write all the time. And for me, it's a very spiritual experience. And I have faith that if I put my butt in the chair every day and do my job, something bigger than myself will happen. And it's true. So you got to have a belief that what you have to say has value, and you got to have a place and a time every day to work. And those are two underrated things. Work that out. But before I sign off, let's say you want to start. You have this idea, but everything's flying around. How do I start? And, another reason I'm doing this video is because I spent a lot of years on paths that turned out to be a waste of time. I can't teach you how to write a book, but I can show you paths that are worthy of your time and you're not going to waste time on. I can say, get better at this skill. I always wish there was somebody who would have said, hey, over here, like a lighthouse. Don't go that way. There's rocks that way. Come this way. And I had to figure all that out on my own. But I'm going to say, do this. Try to learn this skill, and it will help you. And today, the skill that I want you to try to focus on and learn is writing the idea for your book in no more than 25 words. Why only 25 words? Because it forces you to really distill your idea down to its heartbeat. Now, to give you an example of how important this is, and I don't say this to brag, I was recently paid several $1,000s to write one sentence. And it couldn't be longer than 25 words. That's how important it is. That's how much Hollywood values the one sentence. They call it a log line or a synopsis. So how do you do that? And the cool thing about this is you can think about it while you're at work, while you're in the car, while you're doing other stuff. So start thinking about your 25 words. Let's say you want to write a story about two brothers. It's a family saga. The father dies, and there's a big fight over the will and the property. So maybe your sentence might be, two bitter brothers fight for control of their deceased father's estate. Your 25 words should have some intimation of who the characters are, in this case two brothers, what the conflict is, they're fighting over the estate, and some, idea of the outcome, which I didn't have there. So you want those things in the log line, bare minimum. So we might say two bitter brothers fight for control of their deceased father's estate. The older brother wins. I don't know. Well, that's better, but, kind of, so what? Who cares? The trick to this log line is, and this is why I get paid the big bucks, you want to introduce a moral element. And believe me when I say this is probably why you have the idea you want to write in the first place. There's something in your soul and your heart that's just niggling you and you want to get it out. To give you an idea of how this moral element works, listen to how it makes the story 10 times more powerful the minute I stick it in the log line. Through battling for their deceased father's winery, two bitter brothers gain respect for each other. Now that has everything. It tells you what the characters are doing, who they are, what the outcome is, and it has the character development. Now you got to get this in 25 words, and it's tough. Even if you're writing a nonfiction book like I'm doing now, you've got to do this log line. You've got to have the moral element. So think about your 25 words. If enough people email me, contact me and say this was helpful, then I'm happy to do another video next month and we'll take the next step. But you got to speak up and let me know. I'm happy to do it if people are interested. All right. Good luck. And until next time, don't worry about writing for money. Write for joy.